Okay, friends, so what I have for us is the last part of our project. Now, typically, if we were at school, we would be painting these, and I'm very disappointed we don't get to paint them. So instead, use whatever materials you have. So I have this bag here full of coloring supplies. So I've got these Crayola twisty colored pencils, or you can use, if you've got other colored pencils, use those. I like these ones a lot. They color really nicely. They're not required to use whatever you have. So I'm actually going to use the Crayola ones because I have a lot of choices of colors, and I can mix and match stuff as I go along. Okay, so I'm going to put my bag up there. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the crayons and put those away because I want to use colored pencils for this. If all you have is crayons, that's fine. I'm just saying for myself, I don't want to use crayons. So with the twisties, they do come in crayons and they come in colored pencils. So I actually have two sizes of them. So the crayons that I have are both these short ones, and then I have the long ones. So you can tell the difference between these and the colored pencils because the colored pencils are much smaller where the material comes out. So I'm going to grab all my crayons, pick those out really quick because I don't really want to use those. I want to try to blend some colors. You don't have to. I'm just saying that this is something that I prefer doing. It's one of those things where you look at your materials, look at what you have, and then decide what it is you're going to use and where you're going to put it. And that is an important part of any project, is looking at your materials, seeing what you have, and then you can decide after that how you want to do things. Okay, so I've grabbed, apparently I did not grab all of my colored pencils today, so I might have to use my other ones. That's fine. Okay, so I've got these to get started. Oh, this is a crayon. I've got these to get started, and the first thing I'm going to do is work on the water portion. Now, I'm going to mix two colors together to make a nice color. So I've got this lighter blue and this darker blue. Now, the lighter blue, I'm going to actually put, I'm not sure how I want to do it. Maybe the lighter blue should be farther back. Or should it be closer? You can choose how you do it. I might just mix it together. Who knows? Let's start with this lighter color. Maybe more green than it is blue, and that's fine. Because if I don't like it, I can always color over it. So I'm going to color in the spaces. I'm very careful. I'm not trying to scribble. Going slowly, coloring in my spaces using the same direction of strokes. So when you draw in the same direction and you keep your pencil going in the same direction, it actually looks so much better on your artwork when you do that. So if you don't know about these cool twisties, I don't have them in my classroom because I feel like we would go through them really quickly. But if you have them, they're really nice to color with. And then if you need more color, you can obviously twist it, kind of like a glue stick. You can add more. I do know that these were in the back to school section that's still up at many stores. So, or if you have regular colored pencils, that works. So I just like it because I don't have to get up to sharpen. So if that's important to you, not to have to get up to sharpen a pencil, you know, there's that depends on what kind of life you're having. All right, so now I'm going to go back through and I'm going to go over this area with blue, and I'm going to stay going the same direction as I previously did, but lightly, and I'm spacing it out because I want to be able to see the blue and the green mixing together. And what I'm not doing is I'm not tracing over my pencil lines that I've drawn. I'm just coloring in the shape that I've created. Okay. Just coloring in that shape. Very lightly, a little bit more pressure in some spaces than others. Some will be harder. Now this one, I think I'm gonna go and make it just a little bit darker. A little bit, not a lot, but like enough to where, see, now I'm going too fast. I'm coloring outside my lines. Enough to where you can see that this is closer. So I'm gonna draw it, oops, I keep doing it. See, I'm going too fast. So you're gonna slow down. I gotta slow down or I'm gonna ruin my picture. I'm gonna rip it. Slow down, Miss Hot Marie, if you don't mean to be so fast. Okay, so what I would do now for the rest of this is color the rest of the water in. And I'm actually going to pause the video and color in the rest of the water, and then we're going to go on to the next step. Okay, so now I've colored all the way up to the horizon line with the water. So I've colored it, and I made some color variations. So like this one, I made it a little bit lighter. I made the little middle one here a bit darker. And then in the background, I made it with a green to start, and then I put the blue over the top of it. Now, as you can notice, I've colored different directions on here, and you can see it. So I colored, which is a cross-hatching fashion here. So cross-hatching is where you color one direction, and then you go back and you go over it. So you're like crisscrossing, like this. Now, another way to do this is we have... this one here, I colored all of the same direction, okay? And then this one, I colored the green going up and down, and then I did the blue going the other way. It does matter. If you color all the same way, it's going to look much more uniform. It's going to look much better. Now, I can smooth all this out easily by taking a white colored pencil. I know a lot of you are like, what are we ever going to use all those white colored pencils for that you have in your cupboards? Well, I'm going to tell you. So if you take your white colored pencil, and again, it is important that you go the same direction the entire time that you're coloring in. And it's not going to fix it like exactly going to fix it, but it is going to make it look a lot more smooth. It's going to look, and we don't open these up too far because you can break them. Make it look a lot more smooth. The color is going to even out. You see how that looks different. You can see the difference between here and here. It smooths it out. It does put white over the top of it. It blends the colors together really, really well. So I'm going to finish doing this part. I'll do it later. Okay, so you can see here, that's a lot smoother. And the same thing would happen up here. So you don't notice that you're doing the strokes in different directions. Now, if you color over it with the white going different directions, your lines will, so if you can see, I went up and down on this section, and then I went over it going a different direction. I went as a diagonal in here. That smoothed out a lot of the lines in there. It's not perfect, but it's definitely a difference, okay? So now you're gonna find your colors. Now the boats are typically brown. We have a problem because it doesn't look like I have any brown colored pencils in here. I know that I do, but I think I left it at home. I have more of these at home. So I'm gonna have to use these ones because I have brown in here, and I want my boat to be brown. So I'm going to start with, you guys, if you haven't noticed, I'm turning my paper to color it at an angle. And that's because I just prefer coloring this way. Nothing super fancy about it. Now, when you're coloring, you might notice that some of your lines disappear, so you can go back through and press down a little bit more and put your wood lines back in. You don't have to, but if that's important to you, go right on ahead and don't forget to do that. If you're using a regular colored pencil, don't press down very hard. Wood has gradients in it, so you can see the wood that's on our tables. It has gradients in it. It has different parts that are going to be lighter, different parts are going to be darker, and that all depends on the type of wood that you have, but it looks nice. And then in here, I'm just lightly drawing my line back that I had. Okay. And then I'm going to continue coloring in the parts of the boat that I want to be brown, and then I will add accent colors. And you know what, friends? I just started to get to the point where I was almost done coloring the ship, and I realized we forgot some steps. That's on me. All right, so we got to draw some circles. You can either find something to trace that's a small circle, maybe a quarter. It's about a quarter size, okay? We're going to have to get creative on how we color these in. So I'm going to draw circle here, circle here. So if you haven't started coloring, you're good. Now, what I would typically have us do is we would erase any of our pencil lines, which if you notice, colored pencils don't erase. Well, my nice ones do. Crayola does not. Which, it's fine. We'll just do a design on there. I can't believe I forgot to do the shields. The shields are like my favorite part. Okay. So what I typically do for the shields is I draw just simple things. So like this one, kind of like a tree with no leaves. This one, I'm going to put 3 lines in it going that way, 3 lines going this way. I just basically do the same shield but sideways. That's not very creative with me. Here, let's add some lines in there. That one's different. Okay. So I'm going to color that one differently. This one, I usually like to do kind of like a weird star. Maybe something like that. And then this one, I don't know, some line work. Okay, now let's color those in. Now, because I've made a mistake, we have to kind of be careful on how we color them in. So I'm going to use the slightly nicer colored pencils of mine, and I'm going to make them blue shields with some of the darker colors that I have. So the nice thing is, like I said, you can layer your colors differently. Now you can do your shields all different colors if you like. That part doesn't really matter so much if you do them all different colors. I'm going to do them I'm going to use similar colors in all of them. Just because that's what I was going to do anyway. That's what I like. See, we're already starting to fix our mistakes. So this one, I think I'm going to shade So Vikings did use blue quite a bit in their paintings and decorations. I don't really entirely sure why they used blue, but I know that they did use it quite frequently. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to take a really strong opposite color. So I think I'm going to go with yellow. Here's this kind of like, I like this kind of color. I don't know what color this is, but I'm going to pick this kind of darker yellow color, and I'm going to, okay, that's working. That works. That works. That's, see, sometimes you make mistakes when you're making things, and it's always a good idea. Now, if you guys notice, I made a mistake that most of you would have crumpled up your papers and thrown away. So here it turns into a learning moment. Don't just throw your stuff away if you've made a mistake. You can always go back and add changes to it. There's ways to work with our mistakes. And I think a lot of us, too many of the times, decide that they're just going to give up on a project, and they'll just crumple it up and it'll be fine. But I want you guys to understand that sometimes you have to work with what you've got. And, you know, it's not necessarily a bad thing that you made a mistake. It's how you react to that mistake that matters. And I know some of us, our first instinct is to just throw away and start over. Now, sometimes there are projects and you guys have said, oh, I'm like, oh, no, we can fix anything. And then I look at it and I'm like, maybe we should just start over. And you're just like, thank you. But that's not always the case. Now, I made this work, and honestly, if you didn't know, and if I didn't make a video of me making a mistake, if you didn't know, then I don't think anybody would have ever known that I made a mistake on my project. Look at that. I like that. Okay, so now I'm going to finish coloring the rest of my ship, and I'll come back when I'm done with that, before I add the details to the head and the tail area. Okay, so I finished coloring in the body of the boat. So now I'm going to go on and add some accent pieces. Now, I know not everybody will have this, but I have a metallic gold colored pencil, and I just want to kind of adorn my ship here. I want it to make it look like it is, you know, that this is like a king's or a very rich person's ship, and that, you know, this is an important person riding on this. So I'm paying very good attention to my details and how I'm drawing. Now, I know you're saying, well, you're not drawing all the same direction on these parts. No, I'm not. And for these smaller parts where, if you notice, I'm coloring in very, I'm overlapping the colors. I'm making as solid as I can. You don't need to worry about that as much, because you're not going to notice which direction you colored, because it's 100% colored in those areas. And I'm going to tell you right now, the difference between coloring with Crayola colored pencils and these nicer ones. The nicer ones are winning. All right, I'm going to finish doing some detail work, and then when we come back, I'm going to show you how I did the sunset. All right, friends, so that is it for this part, and then the next thing we're going to do is the sunset. Okay, so I know today's video is already pretty long, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this part. So because I've already decided that I like these coloring pencils better, I'm going to work with my Faber-Castell ones. Okay, so I'm going to pull out colors for a sunset. This is more of like a red-brown color. This is kind of a different kind of rusty kind of brown color. And this is green. Now, as you can see, I colored in all the rest of my details. I am going to leave that white because I think that looks nice. All right, so I'm going to pull out a red. I'm going to pull out an orange. I'm going to pull out yellow. Now, I have a couple of colors in between. So I'm going to pull out this pink color, this like peachy color. As you can see, it's starting to create a kind of color variation. So I have 5 colors that I'm going to work with. You can always add other ones because I know if we've seen the sunsets around here, then you know that they can be a variety of different colors. I'm going to turn it sideways and I'm just going to go up the side and then I'll show you the final picture when I'm done. Okay, so Ella actually brought this up yesterday in class that you need to have darker colors, lighter colors, and like a medium color. And she's not wrong, but where that works best is things that you're trying to show depth. So what you would typically do is darker, medium color, light. Now water has weird rules that apply to it, so it's different. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do up. Now if we were painting, you can blend these a lot easier. So I'm going to lightly go over it, and then I can always go back and add more color. I am going to overlap my color down into the previous color because you want to create that gradient. Now, as you can see, this part's darker now, so you want to go back, press down a little bit more, layer some more color, overlap it up and down a little bit into that space where they actually, for real, overlap. Okay, then go on to your next color. Again, pull down into the color you've already created because you do want to create a variant or a variety of colors or a gradient. Like I was telling Ella yesterday, she was very much right with that because as we're going higher, as you can see, the colors are getting lighter. Again, you do the same thing here. And you can make a choice here to where you can make those wider bands or you can start adding in pinks, but you don't have to do it. You can just do it however you want. And then it kind of starts turning into pink colors that kind of go into the upper part of the sky. If you notice that they do kind of band out funny. Whoops, when you're going up to the sky. So it gets lighter and then it gets darker again before it goes on to a blue color. Okay, so I have my dark colors and then I'm gonna go lighter as I go. Now, as I lay those out, you're like, I cannot tell what Miss Aunt-Marie is talking about right now. I know that you can't. It'll make much more sense after I have actually finished coloring it in. And so I'm gonna work on that and then I'll come back.